Oh, hey there, lovers. Happy 2019. Welcome to the future. I'm so excited to be creating content this year. I'm just grateful for the incredible year we had last year, and I'm excited to kick off this year. Fortunately, we're doing it in a reactive stance. This is a reaction video to some drama that's been brewing online since I got married. I say fortunately, unfortunately, because unfortunately, I don't want to start off with some negativity, but fortunately, I think this is a important discussion, and my whole channel is about analyzing the human experience, talking about things that we don't usually talk about, and racial identity and cultural appropriation happen to fall in that bucket. No, they're not my expertise by any stretch of the imagination, so I want to just put that out there right now that I'm probably going to use imperfect language or not say things in the right way, but I'll just express myself from my experience, and hopefully I can learn from you guys in the comment section below. But let's just be kind about this thing, because yeah, I don't have it all down packed. All right, so let's get to the question at hand. Was my wedding dress cultural appropriation? This was something that I saw in the comment section from the very first minute almost that I got married. Once people started posting me on their Insta story, Amber's Closet, I think the very next day put me on her Instagram, or maybe the day of, and immediately that spawned all this debate in the comment section. And that was kind of not troubling to me, it was a sideswipe to me. I honestly didn't expect for that to happen, but of course I wouldn't expect that to happen. When I chose my outfit, when I chose to wear a langa choli to get married, I wasn't thinking about you guys. I wasn't thinking about commenters. I wasn't thinking about how the public would perceive it. I was thinking about that moment that I walked down the aisle and my mom and dad saw me and saw what I was wearing, because I kept my wedding dress a complete surprise. As a matter of fact, everybody in my family was convinced I was going to be coming down in a tuxedo. I was thinking about that moment that my aunts saw me. I was thinking about that. I was thinking about my grandma. Those were the people who were top of mind for me when I selected that outfit as a representation of how I wanted to get married. I wasn't thinking about the internet. And so when the internet responded to me in that way, I was like, oh, at first, of course, like everything else, you respond with anger. You respond with a bit of outrage because, hello, my last name is Boodram. Boodram to me is a classic Indo-Caribbean or West Indian, East Indian last name. So to me, I wear my heritage. It's a part of my everyday vernacular. That is an announcement that I don't feel I have to make because my name makes it for me. And secondly, I've talked about multiple times in this channel what my ethnicity breakdown is. My mom is half black, half white, and my dad is East Indian from Guyana, but he is like most people who are Guyanese. It's kind of like a bit of Portuguese, a little bit of black, a little bit of Indian. You've been in Guyana for about 3 generations, but ultimately they came from India because they were promised a ton of land in Guyana. So a lot of Indian people went over to mostly Trinidad or to Guyana in terms of the Caribbean. That's where the most saturated population of that culture is. So nonetheless, I just am shocked sometimes that people don't know that, but why should I be? I don't look it, right? And that's a big part of what I've had to come to accept as a mixed race individual, because I don't visually represent what you think of when you think of black or Indian, or of course not white. I'll never truly get those identification politics right because I just don't fit into those slots that neatly. And as a result, it's always going to be this gray area. And as I've gotten older, I've gotten more comfortable with existing in that space, and I've become less angry and reactive about it, because I have to accept the fact that because I don't visually identify in the same ways, I don't understand the identity politics or the cultural implications in the same way. Even if I grew up around it, even if it has been my cultural experience, it hasn't been my personal experience, because when people see me, they don't treat me with the same assumptions or labels or identifiers they would somebody who, again, visually represents that ethnicity. That was a lot of words to basically say, I don't fucking know. You know what I mean? I just think as a mixed race individual, you really have to get to a space where you stop trying to get that bit of 100% sense of belonging from anywhere. I have benefited from racial ambiguity. I'm sure it has benefited me massively in my career. On the flip side, the negative part is that I just don't get to be fully accepted or to belong in that particular vein, right? That's just not ever going to like neatly happen for me. And when it does happen, it feels incredible. I think of like, there's this one time I was in Toronto in a cab, and the cab driver said to me like, "Oh, are you from the north or south?" And I was like, "Oh no, I'm from East, like I'm like East Toronto." And then he's like, "No, of India, like where's your family from?" And then I was like, you visually recognize me as a part of you, like you see us as one, like that never happens for me. And like that is a special moment that happened, I'm pretty sure like 15 years ago, that I will keep with me. Anytime that I'm included in a list of like Black women or celebrated as a Black woman, like that feels incredible to me. It's just such an honor, such a privilege. On the other side of the coin, I also accept when people don't see me in that light. And I've had a lot of people who really adamantly are like, "You are not." And that's the thing, I've just kind of been like, okay. I watched Ari Fitz's video recently that's called Am I Transitioning, where she talks about where she exists on the gender scale and the place that she's at, where she's like, okay, if you want to refer to me as he, him, let's do it. If you think I'm her queen, like let's do it. And in many ways, it's kind of how I feel racially. Like I've stopped trying to police or convince people of what I am or where I belong. I just kind of roll with whatever it is that you want to roll me into. I know where I am with the people that I love and I care and who I'm around constantly. And so that I feel really like affirmed and I feel very understood in. But for the average person, I've let go of that because it's just way too much pressure. It's way too much responsibility. It's way too much stress. And there's so many things that go into cultural identification and racial identification. I can't examine every single person's experience and as to why they want to put me in one category or the other. I can just simply go with like whatever makes you feel most comfortable. And that's why when the question comes up as to whether or not this dress is cultural appropriation, it's kind of up to you to decide, right? Like, I don't think that. I know why I wore it. I know what it meant to me, and I know what it meant for my family. So I've already gotten the privilege from it. I've already gotten what I wanted out of it. How you want to interpret it in the aftermath, that's your business. And I can learn and I can choose to listen. I can't go back and change the past. And to be honest, I haven't heard a compelling enough argument that would make me want to go back and change the past. But I'm still all ears, because I think, again, as a mixed race person, that's my responsibility. It is to be a good listener. It is to absorb as much as I possibly can about these wonderful parts of my life that I can only understand to a certain extent. So I am devoted to being a good listener, but in that process, sometimes I don't agree with what I hear. Who, again, my family both look mixed as well too. So like the mixed experience is just in me, right? I don't come from like a half black, half white scenario where I have two polar opposite perspectives that I am like meeting in the middle. My parents look like me, so their experience and like how they interacted with the world is identical to my experience now. And I'm dating, or I'm married now, and married to, you know, another mixed race person. So my kids, again, will probably have that same experience. And as time goes on, it will become less confusing because through the generations, we'll be able to navigate it with more ease and with more class. And that's what I'm just trying to accomplish right now. I'm trying to approach these with more class and with more empathy. And so in many people's eyes, if the fact that I don't outwardly represent my Indian culture frequently, I'm not often in traditional clothes photographed, because I have definitely worn langa cholis in the past, but because I put this dress out on social media, that's when you get the backlash. And so, but in either case, because I don't do that frequently enough, it just struck them as odd and unwarranted. Another like final thought note that I just want to throw in there is sometimes I wonder about who benefits from the policing of cultural appropriation, right? So if in your mind, I haven't earned the right to wear a langa choli and that shouldn't have happened, I should have just worn a traditional Eurocentric wedding dress, right? Who loses in that situation and who benefits in that situation? So as a cultural appropriation is, it essentially is like, if you aren't a certain percentage, I guess, or if you don't actively represent a culture, you're not allowed to participate in it visually at any given time. So what is the culture that we're all allowed to take part in? What is the safe zone? What is the area that every single person, regardless of where you come from, what your last name is and what you look like, what is that thing that it's okay for everybody? Anything that's Americanized or Eurocentric, anything white. if white people create something, we can all partake in it. But if anyone else creates something, you can only partake in it if you belong to that certain group. Who benefits from that, right? If I didn't purchase my dress from Shan Fashion, which is in Toronto, I specifically went back to Toronto to get that dress at that store because that store meant something to me, because I know that store is Indian owned. If I didn't do that, I would have gone to some bridal store in Beverly Hills and purchased a dress there that nobody would have had a problem with. Shan Fashion wouldn't have gotten my business, I wouldn't have promoted them online, and I wouldn't have showcased what beautiful work that they do. If I was the patriarchy, I would like that. I would like that a lot. You know, I would be like, yeah, you can only wear stuff from H&M. You can only purchase your wedding dresses from Beverly Hills. Like, your outfits can only look like the ones that we've designed. You're not allowed to wear those ones. Like, you have to come to us. Like, our business is the right business. I just think that only benefits them. That's it. In the comment section below, I would love to hear from you. I'm trying to think of like what like a final question is. Like, in honesty, I kind of want to ask, like, what makes something cultural appropriation? Like, plagiarism in the law has like a very specific definition. It's like if you take up to 60% of a sentence without changing it into your own words, then it's plagiarism. But also, if you are a mixed race person, how have you come to terms with this? How have you come into acceptance or found your groove? If you are not a mixed race person, what would you like to see more or less of from mixed race people in participation with all of who you are? What do you think is missing? What do we still need to know? And then who's doing it right? I'd love to know that. What is some person who is celebrating and pleasing everybody while not being any one particular thing? Like, who can we all learn from? That's what I would love to know from you. Many questions, lots to discuss, so I'll see you guys below. And above all else, Happy New Year. I just love you. I love talking to you. Let's spend some time together. I'll be back soon with like more exciting videos, so watch this space.
Yeah, I used to think about you when I had no one to